Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be finishing up our match play application, and when I say finishing up, I actually mean we're going to be finishing it up in this part. So without all the chit chat, let's get right into what we're going to be working on. Alright guys, so in the last part we ended with building the UI for our chat. However, when I finished up the video, I went back and just tried to experience the chat as a user and see things that I could change. So I came up with a different format of the chat. So I ended up changing up the UI. So rather than just going in and taking things out, I'm just gonna rewrite the UI. A lot of it is what we've done already, so it's nothing different. Everything that we did is up here. It's been commented out, but if you follow along with your code, you can see what parts I swapped out and what parts I'm keeping. But I think it's easier if you just follow me along using a chat, rebuilding the chat. It looks a lot better. It looks cleaner and it works a tad bit better. And it's more minimalistic. So in the other one, I was trying to do a lot of things, but here it'll be broken down into simpler parts. So before we do build that, what we need to do is create I don't know if this is already created, but I'm going to run it through with you guys. So we're going to be creating this exports.message. So basically what's going on here is anytime you send a message using the chat, so anytime you send a message, you want to store that message, and also you want to show the message history within the message column. So for example, if you have a phone that you send messages with, a laptop, whatever, anytime you send something from user A to user B, there's a chat history, so you know what was sent last. You can continue the conversation. This is exactly what we're doing here. So here we're getting the user ID from the parameter, which we're going to be setting in the front end. The UID is from the authenticate, so that's pretty standard here. Within a try, we're creating this variable called messages, and we're going to find the sender or the recipient, so sender and recipient, sorry, and we're trying to locate it within the user. So if it has the user ID or the UID, we're trying to get the message there. The same thing for recipient, and we're sorting in ascending order. So we want to go from the most earliest message to the last message, because that's how it would look in your chat history. And then there's a status of 200, and we're basically responding with a JSON message. We're responding with .json messages, and then the catch error is going to be the same thing. Console.error, error 500 error, saying there's a server error if it doesn't work. And then in routes, we're going to be doing route.get, so we can uncomment this. It's going to be route.get /messages / the parameter, user ID, authenticate, and message, and that's it. So just like that, we're done with that part. So this is what it looks like. You can pause it and write that out, but this is pretty much all we're doing here in the back end. So now we can go ahead and build out our chat. So before we do so, let's come over here to chat, and as you can see, it is completely empty. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back up here to what we had earlier, and I'm just going to grab all these state variables. So I'm just going to grab all of this. It's going to be the exact same thing you guys have currently if you've been following the series. It's going to do this, and then yeah. Okay, so let's see. Inspect console. Use state's not defined, so we don't have any. So we're just gonna grab this. Let's just take. Just take all three. It doesn't really matter. So take all three. We can take this out. We don't need that anymore. Bam. So now,
Music licensing reimagined.
I don't think there's an error. Yep, there's no error. It's just supposed to be empty. Okay, so there, we're good with that. Now, just like you guys have here, the first block of code you guys should have would be this use effect with user/user info. We're just keeping the same thing. So you can see it's pretty much the same code. I'm just reworking it or editing it, I guess. So use effect, it's going to be the same thing. But I do ask you guys to basically redo it, not redo it, just rewrite. Yeah, redo it. That's what I'm saying. Because it's gonna be a bit harder to just, you know, not to just edit it as I go along, just in case you get stuck. But if you want to edit it and just go on the same way, that's completely fine with you, with me. Let's see. Here we're going to be sending UID. I'm not going to be explaining a lot on what I'm doing for the things I've already done before in the last one. That way things go faster. But if there's anything new though, I will be running through it. But if there are questions regarding what I am doing, you can just always go ahead and ask in the comment section. Let's see. Oh, and there are people asking about, at least there was someone asking about the source codes. I'm not releasing that yet because, like I said, I still work on this. Just like I'm editing this, so it's not completely done yet. Remember, I'm the only one working on this, so sometimes I look at the code and I'm like, let's tweak that a bit, or let's do this. So it's not going to be out until I'm completely satisfied with it. Even if the series is complete, I might still go in there and work on it. But if enough people ask about it, I mean, I will let it out. I'm not charging for it or anything. It's completely free, at least at this moment. But if enough people ask for it, I will be sure to put something out. Let's see. So console.log, and here we're gonna be. Let's see. Let's just do response. That one makes sense. It's not local, so let's do it here. Console.log response.data. Let's do that first, and let's see what we get. Cool. So that is correct. That is what we need. So we're just going to keep it like such. And then we're going to go down to the next thing. And here we're going to have another use effect. There's going to be a lot of use effects here. So one thing I'm not going to be doing in this series, which I may have said I'm going to be doing, here we're just going to have connect. If you guys followed along in the last one, you will know why that's there. But for right now, we've not built out a connect function, but it's coming next. So, but it should already be created in yours. Like I was saying, the last thing, so we're going to be creating the connect here. So I don't know if I said we were going to build this out, but notifications. So for example, when a message comes in, there's no notification sign here that that updates the count of how many messages came in. I'm not doing that because if I were to do that, I think it'll be easier to do everything within auth context. So all this stuff will be easier to do within auth context, and then pass several things such as the message count and things like that as props to another component that would house the notification. So I'm not gonna do it in this one. If I create another project where I'm trying to do that, I can show you guys how to do it. Or if you guys like, the easiest way to get to me is through the comment section. So if you guys want to see certain things, just get at me in the chat and let me know, like, hey, can you show me how to build this notification or add this to the whatever, and that way it's easier to know what you guys want to see. But for right now, we're still a very small channel, so I just basically play by ear. So that's why. If I should do that, then I would have to rework the code. because that would be the easiest way to get that to work. So here, so far, we're setting up our socket. So we have this. Now we're going to say if we don't have the socket, so if there's no socket connection, or there's no socket dot add event listener, and all this should already this is the same code as what we had last time. We're going to say console.error WebSocket is not available or does not support. Just, you know what? We don't need all that. Just, it's not available. That's fine. So just keep it at that. What's the problem now? Oh, okay. Let's see. So if that, and then we want to return that. And then we want to say socket on message. Let's see. Is equal to event console.log WebSocket message received. I don't know why I keep spelling received wrong. And this would say e dot data. Cool. Okay, so what are we missing? Is it the else? Let's see, because it should be the same code up here. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to grab that same code we have here. It's the same thing. I don't feel like working on it to fix it. I believe I'm missing a piece of code, maybe else or something, but I don't want to work on it. So I could just show you guys what to edit here. So everything here is fine. We're going to take off handle message. So we're going to take handle message off.
Music licensing.
Yeah, I believe that's all we did. So here. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so here we have the return, and we have socket dot. Here should have socket dot on message, and we should say is equal to e. And then, yeah, okay. And now we can say console.log. So we're just adding this on message, console.log, WebSocket message. Well, WebSocket is not available. What am I saying? WebSocket message received.
Music licensing reimagined.
Because it's telling us that we've received the message. Why can I not spell? Received. There we go. And this should say e.data. Okay, this is what I was trying to get at before. Now there's more. So after e.data, we have this if. Now if received. Yeah, if received message dot type is equal to online users. So these are the parts that we're adding on to. Then we want to say set online users. So we have to create this function, this state variable to receive the message dot data dot map users and this would be user dot user ID. Cool. So for right now we don't have that state function, so what we're going to do is add that, and this would be set online users. And well, online users, and this would be set online users equal to use state, and this would be an empty array. So let's see.
Artlist.io.
Okay. Receive message is not defined at 472. Let's see. 472. If received message, that type is. That's fine for right now. We just keep moving. So if received, wait, actually, no, it's not. Wait, why don't we have received blah blah blah? Oh, we're missing it here. We didn't declare it here. So we didn't initialize received message. So const received. I'll select that's fine. Received message is equal to. There we go. Is equal to JSON. So we're gonna be parsing it. JSON.parse e.data. Cool. So now let's see. All right. So let's come back to chat, inspect, console. Yeah. Okay. So we're set. So what we're doing here is basically we're grabbing the received message, and we're saying if received message that type is online users, then we're setting the online user message, and we're using this to set it. So we're setting the online users, and let's see if we can console log this so we can see what the message, what the received message is. Console log received message. I doubt there'll be anything in there right now. Yeah, so right now all we get is the online user, which is me. So I'm the only one online. So that's what this is doing. So this is just grabbing the online user from this. So receive message dot type. This is the received message, and we already set it to online users in the backend. So the type is online users. So now we're going to be storing this information, this online user information, and within this online user information, we're going to be mapping through it, and this should say user. Well, users is fine. Yeah, so now we're going to map through it, and when we map through it, we're going to be getting the user. So I think we're storing the user ID. Yeah, so we're storing the user ID within set online users. So we're storing this because we're mapping through it and storing this. We're mapping through the array and storing that in there. So that's all we're doing. And that's how we get our set online users. I believe in the last one, we're setting it using like set user IDs. So we're going to be doing away with set user IDs. And just like that, we're done. So those are the parts we had to add. Everything here is fine. Yeah, we didn't do anything else here. So now we can make another use effect. We can add another use effect. And this is going to state, yeah, so here, this is going to state cons. We're going to do this for the fetch suggestions, which I think we kind of have. We built it here already. Search suggestions. Yeah, we built it. Where is it? Yeah, right here. So we built it here. So we can actually, yeah, let's just take it. It doesn't really matter. So let's grab this. So this is easier than actually writing it out. So I'll just explain what we're doing, if we even made any changes actually. So let's see. We have fetch search suggestions. We're going to be using /user/people and query with search query. Set suggestions to response.data. That's fine. And then this is still fine. Okay, yeah, we're not changing anything. So we just keep that as such. Let's see if there's anything else we're not going to change here that I can just grab. So we had search. Okay, that I don't feel like searching through all that. The next block of code is relatively short, so it doesn't matter. And we're just gonna say const handle select user from search. And all we're doing here is basically when you search for something and the results come out, you want to be able to click on it. And when you click on this, it's going to basically store the user ID. It's going to reset the query. So whatever's in the search bar is going to set it. It's going to reset it to an empty string, things like that. So that's all we're doing here. So we're going to say user ID. Cool. And here we're going to say set selected user IDs. And we're going to be set query. Well, search query, whatever. And this would be set search suggestions. And this would be an empty array. And just like that, that block of code is done. So here, what we want to do now is say, basically, if you click on, let's say you search for something, right? You search for something within the input field, and a suggestion bar comes down. You don't want to search that thing anymore. And let's say you just click on a random background, like you click on an empty space like this, just to get that search bar away. This next bit of code is how we do that. So we have the suggestion come down. We don't want to scroll through the suggestions anymore. We just click on something else, and we want that suggestion box to go away, to disappear, rather than like having to select something on the suggestion field for it to go away. So this is what we're going to do here. So we're going to say const search input ref equals use ref. So let's see if we can get it from here. There we go. Let's see, does it import? Yep, it did. So it did import. Okay, yeah, so it did import. That's fine. And then we're going to be saying it's null. So we're going to say use effect. And here we're going to say const handle document click. Event. And if search input ref.current, and there's no search input ref.current contains event.target, one more, and there's no event.target.closest, and we're going to be putting the class of that div dot suggestion drop down. So what this second condition is saying is we're basically checking to make sure that the clicked element is not inside of this referenced search input. So we're making sure that it's not within this. And then the third one is just checking to see if the element or any of its ancestors have like any class that contains suggestion dropdown. So after that, now we want to say, so where does this end? So these are all the conditions. So if then we want to say set is, I don't think we created that actually yet, is suggestion open to false. So we don't have this state variable. So what we want to do is build it out. So we're going to say const, what do we say? Is suggestion open. We're going to change this to is, and then set is suggestion open. And that's going to be use state false. Cool. So we have that. And then, let's see, where are we? Okay, so right under here, we're gonna say, actually not right under there, we're gonna keep it as this. And then here, we're gonna say document dot add event listener for the click, and we're gonna say handle document click. And then here we're gonna return, so this is gonna basically say document dot remove. So when it unmounts, we're basically writing the logic for when it unmounts. Event listener remove event, there we go, listener click. And this is gonna say handle document click. There we go. And this is gonna have search input ref. Cool. So now we have a couple more left. We're gonna say use effect, and here is how we fetch the data for our offline users. So we already got it for our online, so this is going to be for our offline users. So we're going to say fetch data is equal to async, which is try catch const offline people is equal to await axios.get slash user slash people const offline users is equal to offline people dot data dot filter. So we're going to be filtering through the data we get, and we're going to be using p, and we're going to be grabbing the ID of the user, but we're going to make sure it does not equal our ID. So it doesn't equal the UID of the user that's signed in, which means if we're signed in, we don't want, well, yeah, if we don't want our not signed in because it's offline users, but we still don't want us ourselves to show up as an offline user. So we're gonna use this condition. We're gonna make sure this condition is not met. So PID does not equal the UID. That's our user ID, and then we're gonna filter again, and this time we're gonna this time we're gonna state does not user ID, well, online users dot, why is it saying set online users? Oh, that's why. Online users. Yeah, it's gonna crash. There we go. So it should say online users. There we go. Dot includes p dot ID. Now we can set offline user data to offline users. Cool. And now for the catch error, we can say console.error error fetching offline people. And here we're gonna have error. Awesome. Let's see. Cool. And this is going to be dependent on two things: changing the UID and online users. Cool. So what do we have? Now we have select contact. So this is also a short code block. So select contact, user ID, and here we're just going to have a try catch, and we're going to say set selected users, well, user IDs, user ID, set unread counts. There we go. And previous. And this is going to be, so here we're just setting the unread count. So it's going to, that's all we're doing here. 0. And I believe we did this last time, so I'm not really going to go over it again. And then console.error, error selecting
Music licensing
contact.
reimagined.
And that's an error. Cool. So what we want to do now is the send message. So I believe we can just use the same send message that was here. We don't really have to change much. Still the same logic. So up until 140. So yeah, the send message function you have should still work. So let's just plug that in there. Let's see. Stringify. So blah blah.
Artlist.io.
Yep, that still works perfectly. So we can just go ahead and save that. So now we're gonna have another use effect. What else is new? And this is gonna be for when there's no selected user ID. So if, which we had in the last one, but I think I made changes to it, so I'm just gonna redo it. So if there's no selected user IDs, then we want to set message to empty. Else we want to const fetch data is equal to sync.
Artlist.io.
What did I just do here? This would be Y. Cool. Let's sync. Now we can have a try catch.
Music licensing reimagined.
Cool. So const response is equal to await axios.get /user /messages / and this would be the parameter select user ID. So let's make this that and this that. So selected
Artlist.io.
user IDs. Cool. And now we can set the messages to response.data. The error here would be console.error
Music
fetching
licensing reimagined.
message. So let's see. Awesome. So now we can fetch data. What's going on here? Else fetch data is equal to a sync.
Artlist.io.
Try const response, blah blah blah. Set message. Okay. Catch. Okay, catch. Oh, that's why. Fetch data. There we go.
Artlist.io.
Cool. And now it's going to be dependent on selected user IDs. So I believe we already did this. We don't have to really run through it again because we literally did it in the last one. Now what I can grab from here is going to be I'm going to grab these from okay, let's slow our roll here. Let's grab the format. Okay, so we're going to be grabbing this time format. I'm going to plug it here. So we have the time format set up. It's the same thing as what we had last time. No changes. And then here we're gonna have the use effect for chat scroll, which should be already done. So as you guys notice, we don't have a handle message and we don't have a remove user from chat function. Yeah, we don't have remove user from chat, so we don't have those two, and that's completely fine. So just gonna grab this also. So we're here, we're getting the use effect for the chat scroll, and what this is doing, like we explained in the last one, is we're just scrolling to we're using it to get to the last message sent. So whatever the last message that came into the chat is, when we click on the user, we scroll right to that chat, right through that message or conversation, the last conversation you had. Okay, so that should be it for right now. And then if loading, blah blah. Okay, so we have one more. Yeah, let's put it here. So here we're gonna say con selected user is equal to selected user IDs. So if they're selected user IDs, then online people that find, I'm gonna find a user, and it's gonna be user.user ID is equal to selected user IDs. Or if we're looking for offline user data, then it's .find. We're going to find the user, and this one's going to be user dot ID is equal to selected user IDs. No. Cool. And what this is doing, we're just creating this for selected user. So this is how we know what the selected user is. So if we have a selected user, then we're checking to see if there's a selected user ID. If there's a selected user ID, then we're going to find that user amongst the online people. And because of how the data is received in the front end, the online people uses user ID, whereas the offline people uses user.user ID. So basically, offline users use dot _ID. Online users use dot user ID. That's the difference, and that's how we get the selected user. So just like that, we're done with the logic for the chat. All we have to do here now is build it out. So I'm just gonna build it out without referring to the one up top. I think that's a lot easier, so I don't have to go back and forth. And I'm gonna just mostly type without explaining things, because it's a lot like what we did the first time. So we're gonna have this div, and then we're gonna have a child div under it, and this class name is gonna be background blue 100. It's gonna be width is gonna be 2/5, and here is gonna be 2/3. Cool. Flex column. The height, we want it to be full. Overflow Y auto. Cool. And then down here, we want another div within it. And this div class name is going to be pattern of 2, and it's going to be relative. So here we're going to have that reference, and this is going to be search input ref. Cool. And you guys should see that where this is going. This is going to be for our input field. Input type is equal to text. Placeholder is going to be search user, well, users. Class name is going to be with full, pattern of 2. I'm going to have a border. It's going to be rounded, large. Focus is going to be outline, none. Value, search, query. On change is going to be set search query e.target.value. And we're going to have something called onFocus, and here it's going to be an arrow function, and here we're just saying set is suggestion open, no, is suggestion open, and this is going to be true.
Music licensing reimagined.
Awesome. So as you can see, that's what we get. So let's see. Well, nothing's going to drop yet. So we have that. Now we can give it some logic, and it's going to be right before the closing div. So this logic is going to state search suggestions dot length. If it's greater than 0, is suggestion open. Then we want to state div class name. We want this to be absolute. We want the top to be full, left, and this is building out the suggestion box. So you'll see when we type in it what it's going to look like. Background is going to be white, and like I always say, you can make the colors and CSS however you feel and whatever you feel like. This is what I ended up going with full max height of 40, overflow y auto z of 10, and this is going to be that suggestion drop down class. So suggestion drop down. So let's see if it works. Okay, so we're not done yet. Now we're now going to state search suggestions dot slice 0 5 dot map user cool, and this is going to be div key what's going on here. Let's do this over. So it's going to be search suggestions dot slice. We want the 0 5 dot map user cool. Okay, user, and this is going to be div. Oh, wait a minute. That's why. So this div here should be within there we go. Okay, I was like, what's going on? And now we can have a div in here. Cool. All right, and now this is going to be class name, and this class name is going to be actually, let's do the key first. Div key is going to be user dot id, and now the class name is going to be pattern of 2. We want the cursor to be pointed, well, pointer, to hover. So when we hover over it, we want the background to be gray, 100.
Music licensing
cool.
reimagined.
We want it on click, and for this on click, We want handle selected user from search. What's going on? Handle select, no, select, should be selected user from search. Handle select user from search. And it's going to be user dot ID.
Artlist.io.
So now within this div, we're going to have what's it called? H1 here. And this is going to say user dot first name.
Music licensing reimagined.
Okay, so user dot first name. So now let's see if any, why nothing's showing up here right now. Let's do this. Console.log, search suggestions, and then inspect.
Artlist.io.
Oh, I think we're signed out. Are we? Yeah, we're signed out. Yep. So that's why. Test at test.com. Test. So the session basically expired. So now let's try. There we go. So now, if we click, this is what I meant by if you click on anything else. So let's say I click on this blue background, it closes. That's basically all we're trying to do with the use ref. With a search input ref. Cool. So we have that set up, and now let's see. This div. Where's this div? Cool. Okay. So here we can create another div. And we're gonna say class name, and this is gonna be pattern of 2 with full flex column, items center, justify center, and we can make a child div here. Class name, font is bold, medium is border, and medium here is rounded, large, medium here is border, black, width is full, pattern is 2, text is to the left, margin bottom is 2, and we want the background to be transparent. And then now we want another div within it, and this div is going to say class name and flex height is full, justify between, items is center, cursor is pointer, and now we want the onClick, and this is going to be set online collapsed. And this should say online collapsed. So for this online collapsed, we're going to create this state variable. I'm just going to paste it here, and it's going to be online collapsed, set online collapsed, and use state false. And what it's going to do is it's going to actually, I can't explain it until you guys see what goes on. It's not something that you need the visual. So what I want to do is import this. So I'm going to be importing this FA chevron down and FA chevron up from React icon slash FA, so the FA folder. So we're just going to have that. And now we can come back down here with collapsed. And this is going to say online users. But we're going to have this function here that's going to say math dot max 0 online users dot length -1. There we go. And what this is saying is we want to show the online. Let's do this. Let's make this H1. So class name. So what we're doing here is saying we're saying there's online users. So how many online users are there? And what this math function is doing is saying math.max o. So o, and then we're taking the online users dot length -1. So what we're saying is we're subtracting 1 from the length of online users, the data that we're getting, and we're making sure that that count is never negative, so it doesn't go below 0. And what the reason why we're subtracting it from by 1 is because now when you get the online users, you're gonna get yourself included as an online user. So we don't want that. So we're always gonna subtract from by 1 to make sure that you're not online. But we'll never. So if no one's online, let's say it's just yourself and nobody else is online, it's never going to go past 0 because it's only subtracting by 1 and making sure the maximum number is always 0, nothing less. So that's what we're doing here. So yeah, now for this online collapsed, what we're going to say is, let's come down. Just happened. Okay, let's come down here, and here we're gonna say online collapsed. So if there's online collapsed, then we want to show FA chevron down or FA chevron up. Cool. So we're able to click it, it goes up down. So anytime there's online users, you're able to see the users, or you don't want to see the users, you just click that. So that's something I implemented after the last video. So now what if there's no online? So let's say we don't have it collapsed. Then we want to state div class name width is full, overflow y auto, the medium border, medium screen, the border would be black, medium screen, it's going to be rounded large, shadow medium, and then we want the background to be transparent. Cool. So here we're gonna run another. We're gonna have another div, not run another div. We're gonna have another div, and this div is gonna say class name, padding of 2, text is left, height is full, overflow y, auto, and then here we're gonna have the logic that states online people. Dot filter user, and it's going to be user dot user ID does not equal u ID, and then we're going to map through that user, and here we're going to have the div and this div. So what we just said is online people. So we're going to filter through the online people data, and the user is not going to equal the user ID. So whatever user we get, is not gonna, to make sure ourselves, like the user, the UID, which is pertains to the user that's logged in currently, so myself, does not show. We're gonna make sure the user ID does not equal the UID, and then we're gonna map through that data, and we're gonna say user. We're gonna create this div, and this div is gonna have an onClick, and this onClick is gonna use that select contact. So we're going to say user.user ID. And now key is equal to user.id. Class name is pattern of 2, hover, background gray of 100. The transition is going to be, well, there's going to be a transition, and then there's going to be duration of 300. Flex items
Music licensing
center.
reimagined.
Cool. So as you can see, this little border comes up. So this is what's going to house all our stuff. And now, let's see. Okay, let's have another div here. Not within that. So let's do that. And then here we're going to have another div. And now this div is going to house the avatar. So I think we had that the last one. So is equal to true, meaning the user is online. Then we're going to have a username is equal to user.username. User ID is equal to user.user ID. Oh, actually, I don't believe I built out the avatar with you guys, so I will actually do that right now. And this is going to say unread count. Just follow along for right now, and then I'll build out the user ID with you guys. User.user ID. Or 0. And then cool. So right now, do I have avatar? Yes, I do. So I'm not sure if I already did this with you guys, but I'm going to go over it right after I finish building this chat feature, just so it doesn't take too long, but it's an easy explanation of what's going on. We're just passing props in. So yeah, we're done with that. Now, where's this div? Cool. Now we can say h1 class name, capitalize, user.username. And the reason I forget if I've done things with you guys, because I typically go back and change up the code in a way or two, just if I feel like it's not up to par with what I want it to look like. Wait, so what's going on right now? Okay, so this div here. All right, now this div is here. So why don't we have a h1? There we go. Class name. H1 is user.username. Cool. And now we have this div, and then we're done. So basically there's no online user present, but we're going to have a ton of offline users. So actually 2 offline users. So that one's the one you're going to be able to see. So let's go ahead and build that out. So we're going to be right here, div. Okay. So now we can say div class name. What's going on? Div class name, font, bold, medium, border, medium. So these are all medium and up, rounded, large. Medium border is black, width is full, padding is 2, text is left, margin bottom is 2, background
Music licensing
transparent.
reimagined.
Yeah, and then now we can build the child div. Class name, flex, justify, between, items, center, cursor, pointer, and now we can have our on click here,
Artlist.io.
and this is going to be set offline collapsed, offline collapsed. Why is it saying? Oh, okay.
Music
So we have to
licensing
build that
reimagined.
also. So now we have online and offline collapsed. Cool. And yeah, but guys, these videos are long just because I try to make sure everything I put out is sufficient enough, and like I go back and I recheck it and make sure everything is not just good, but it's up to par with modern
Artlist.io.
modern web with modern web applications. So if I know I built this before, but I looked at it and I was like, yeah, this isn't so great. So I went back and just worked on it again. So here this is gonna have offline users, and we're gonna do the same thing here.
Music licensing
This is gonna say
reimagined.
offline users dot length. What do we do now? Let's see. No, that's what it is. Offline user data. There we go. So here we're just getting offline user data dot length. There we go. And as you can see, it says there's one offline user.
Artlist.io.
So offline user dot length shows that there's one offline users. We don't need this function attached to it because we don't need to subtract by 1. It's just telling us how many are offline. Let's see.
Artlist.io.
That's good enough. That's sufficient. And then now we can now write our offline collapsed. So offline. So if there's offline collapsed, then we want FA chevron down. Else we want FA
Music
chevron up.
licensing reimagined.
Dope. So now we can build out the logic for offline collapsed. So cool. So now offline collapsed div class name width is full, overflow y is going to be auto,
Artlist.io.
rounded large, shadow medium, background transparent.
Music licensing reimagined.
Okay, we didn't close the div. Cool. And here we're gonna have another div. And this div is gonna be 2 text left. Height, we're gonna make it 30% because we want to be able to scroll. We don't want the whole thing just there. And then because we're making a height 30%, we're gonna make the overflow y auto.
Artlist.io.
And now we can write the logic. It says offline user data dot map through the user. And we're gonna say
Music licensing reimagined.
div. The key here is gonna be user dot ID. Class name is gonna be P2. Background gray. 100. Transition duration is going to be 300. Flex items center. On click, select contact user.id.
Artlist.io.
Cool. Now we're gonna have another div, and this one is gonna be for the avatar that I am unsure if we've done together yet. Online false username
Music licensing reimagined.
is equal to user dot first name, unread count, unread count. There we go. User dot ID or
Artlist.io.
0. Cool. And now we want to have this h1 here that says class name capitalize
Music licensing reimagined.
user dot first name. So let's see. Okay, so why is nothing populating? So capitalize, blah blah blah, user. So let's see.
Artlist.io.
Well, that wouldn't make sense. So let's see.
Music licensing reimagined.
That's peculiar. Why do we have no user offline? Offline user data.
Artlist.io.
Offline user data. Okay, so console.log offline.
Artlist.io.
Users. Oh, let's do this instead. Console.log offline users. Now let's see.
Music licensing reimagined.
Okay, so test. Wait, that makes no sense. We didn't fetch this data, did we? That would make sense. So let's go ahead here and fetch this data.
Artlist.io.
So actually, fetch data should be one lower. Cool. Now let's see. Console.log.
Music licensing reimagined.
Offline user data. Okay, it shows. Okay, so it's working. We don't need the console log it. So it's working. The CSS is just something's wrong with the CSS. So yeah, we forgot to fetch that data. Let's see, why is our CSS wonky? So we have div collapsed, offline collapsed with full overflow Y. Okay, so here we're just gonna leave this as full height, full, because we don't have that many users. So there's no overflow because it's full. So we have this test 2, test 3. So if we had like 10 users, then you can make this full. You can make this like 30%, and you can use the scroll. But you can leave it as this for right now. Still gets the job done. As you can see, we have 2 users that are offline, just like we do here. These are 2 offline users, as you can see with the red dots. We can go back to chat. 2 offline users. So that works well enough. We don't really need to do much after that. So we can come down here and create another div right before our last div. So right here. And this is going to create the message column. So to start it, we're just going to say div medium, well, class name medium width of 3/5 and width of 3/5. And we're gonna have a flex column. The height's gonna be full. Background is gonna be blue. 300. There we go. And here we're gonna be using something called selected user, and well, if they're selected users, then div class name here is going to be with full. Border is black. Pattern is 3. Well, border bottom, not border, is black. And then border here is going to be black, rounded, and large. So what we're trying to achieve here is basically, let's make sure this is working properly. Medium 35, flex height full, background blue, height is full. Oh, that's why. Sorry. I was like, what's going on? So basically, when you select the user is when it shows. So when you select the user, this shows. I'm like, what's going on right now? So if there's a selected user, so what we want to do is we want to put this border here, and let's say you have a text message come in, or on your cell phone or something, at the top you want the name of the user. So that's what we're going to be doing here. So we're going to be grabbing the name of the user. So here within this, we're going to have a div class name, flex items center. And within this div, we're going to put that avatar again. And if the person's online, then we're going to get that online users that includes the selected user dot ID or selected user dot user ID, because offline user and online users use 2 different types syntaxes when it comes to user ID. And then we can say username is equal to selected user. If there's a selected user, then we want to say username or selected user dot first name. User ID is the same thing. We want to say selected user dot underscore ID or selected user dot user ID.
Music licensing reimagined.
What is going on? Cool. Here we're going to have h1, and this is going to be class name, font, bold, capitalize. And then now we're going to get the selected user dot username or selected user
Music licensing
dot
reimagined.
first name. H1. Cool. So as you can see, we have this avatar saying test 2. That we have this avatar and then it's saying test 2. So here, I don't know why this avatar is not showing actually. Font, blah blah blah.
Artlist.io.
Oh, we forgot to put user ID, and the user ID here should be user dot. There we go. So as you can see now, everything works as it's supposed to. So the only thing now we have to do is set up our messages and our search and our well, the ability to send a message. So everything else is working properly. So let's see. Yeah, so let's get into building that portion of the project field. So here what we want to do is say selected user IDs, and I'm just going to give it a div, but this is going to have a div ID called chat container. Yeah, chat container, and we can give it a class name of flex grow overflow y auto. See that overflow y auto, and a padding of 4. Okay, so now we're gonna say array is array messages, then message dot length is greater than 0. Well, and message dot length is great, and messages dot length is greater than 0. Then we want to say messages dot map message and index, and now we can state this should be parentheses and put the div in there. Okay, what's the problem now?
Music licensing reimagined.
Okay, I think we deleted a div by accident. Let's go back and see what the problem is. Okay. Div. Now we can put the class name here.
Artlist.io.
Flex grow overflow what overflow y auto, pattern of 4. Yeah, that's it. Oh, and the div ID is going to be chat container. Cool. Now we can write out the logic. Array dot is array messages, and messages dot length is greater than 0. Messages dot map message index. Cool. Now we can put div and div. Still don't know what the problem is. Messages dot map Okay, let's just finish this first and then we'll debug it. Key is equal to index, and class name is going to be flex plus
Music licensing reimagined.
plus messages, well, message that sender is equal to UID. Then want to justify end, or if not, we want to justify start.
Artlist.io.
Cool. All right, so let's see where we're having a problem here. Div here is closed here. Array. You know what? Let's keep going. I believe there's just a yeah, let's just keep going. Let's see. And now down here, now here we can have a h1 heading, and this is gonna say message.text. So yeah, it's gonna do that. And now below it, we're going to have another div. And it's gonna have class name, and we can close this div out. And this class name is gonna state medium text 1.3 vmin, text 1.6 vmin, 6 vmin. Text is gray, 400. And right below it, we're gonna have the format timestamp. We're gonna pass in message.created at. Cool. So we have div. I think we're missing a div is the problem.
Music licensing reimagined.
Let's see. Actually, let's go back to our original one. Let's see. What am I missing something here? I'll go back and explain what's going on, but I think I'm missing something here. Div. Okay, we have this message. Justify that. Oh, that's a problem. So I'm missing a big chunk of code. Okay, so this should have another div here. So meaning this should have a div here. So this div should say class name. And I'll go ahead and explain everything that's going in a second. Just want to make sure I have all this right. Medium P4, kind of 3, PY2, rounded large, plus message that sender is equal to UID. Then background blue 500, text white,
Artlist.io.
background white, text gray 500. Cool. Okay, now we have this div. So we have 1, 2, 3 divs.
Music licensing reimagined.
Okay, so we didn't finish that out. There we go. Okay, so now we're straight. Okay, so what this code is saying is we're checking messages to make sure it's an array. So if not, it's a Boolean expression. So it's going to return a Boolean expression if true or false. And if it is, and the messages.length is greater than 0, then we want to map through the messages. We have the index as the key, and we're going to give it a class name. So what we're saying is if the sender is from the UID, so meaning the sender is myself logged in, then I want to justify n. So I want the chat bubble to be placed in a certain way, and if not, I want the chat bubble to be placed in a different way. For this div, max width full. We want the whole width of the screen of this message column. And if the message.sender, if I am the sender this time, also, then I want the background to be blue, text white, background white. So that's, give me 1 second actually. Yep. Just have to make sure something about the colors. Yeah, so I try to use like the iMessage colors as much as I could, but this is the closest I could get to it. So message.sender UID, and then that. So now we get the message.text, and we get this, and then we want the time format also, the time format stamp. But even when we do that, it's not going to do anything at this point. So let's come here, div. What's the last div we used? There. So it's not going to do anything at this point. And let's see. Okay. That would be right here. Cool. So over here, right below this bracket, we're going to create another select user IDs. And here we're going to state, this is where we build out the input. So here we're going to say div class name. Let's go ahead and close this up first so we don't have that same problem again. Cool. And here we're going to say pattern of 4 flex. So we're creating our input field here. Center, rounded, large, width, full, and it's going to be relative because we want to manipulate the send button. So here we're going to say input type. It's going to be text. Value is going to be new message text. Placeholder is going to be type your message here. Class name is going to be flex grow. Pattern of 2, border rounded large. On focus we want outline to be none, and we're just going to go ahead and flip it there. And we want the button type to state submit. The class name is going to be absolute right 4. What's that? Let's say top half. Transform. Translate on the y-axis by yeah. We want the background to be blue and 500. We want the P2. We want border to be rounded large. Text to be white. And on click, we want it to send message. But we're going to hold off on this for right now. And within this button, okay, let's do this. Cool. Within this button, it's going to have the word send. Let's see. And that should be about it. So now let's see what we get when we click on it. Okay, so we definitely messed our CSS up in a way. So let's see. Yeah, our CSS got the worst of this. So let's compare these. Aha. So this div
Music licensing reimagined.
That's the problem. Okay. So this selected, yeah, that's the problem. So this selected let's see, where does this end? Like there. So we're grabbing basically everything here, and we're gonna move it right below here. So let's see if that fixes anything. Yep, fixes a whole lot of things. So as you can see, now we get our message.text. We get our message here. So all we did here is basically, I already explained this, but at the bottom here, we're getting our message.text and we're placing it there. And then for selected user IDs here, so whenever we select the user, we have this, but if a user is not selected, yeah, when a user is not selected, we don't have this shown. So let's say we refresh that, go over to chat. As you can see, none of the users are selected, so nothing shows here. But the minute we select this user, we have this shown. And as you can see, we have a proper timestamp. So this was 6:56. Now we can also add the date. It was, so we can say if over 24 hours, write the last date. But you can just manipulate the what's it called? You can manipulate the, where's the code? This format timestamp. We can manipulate this to state that, oh, if it's over 24 hours, then show the last date that it was received. If not, just show the time. But right now, we're fine with the time. And let's see if this works. So let's send test 3, and let's just say test. Inspect
Music licensing
console.
reimagined.
Okay. You provided a value prop to a form without an unchanged handler. This will read render read only field. Okay. All right. So apparently we're on a read only format. So let's see what we did wrong. That's why it's always good to test your code. So let's see. We have blah, blah, blah. Value, new message text. Type your message here. So actually what seems to be, I don't feel like debugging by myself. So let's see, we have type, value text. Oh, we forgot the unchanged. That's what it was telling us. Okay. So now we have the unchanged, and unchanged is pretty standard, so I don't think I have to explain what we're doing there. So set new message, event target.value. So now for test 3, which we've clicked on, if we just say test 1 and we send this, we don't have the on click. So and remember, it's already connected to our database, so whatever we send will show up in our database. So right now the only thing in our database is test 1. That's it. So we can come back here and on click we would have a send message. We can save that. So here we have test 1. We can send that. So test 3 sent test 1 at 2 p.m. So now if I go into my Safari and I do localhost 5173, there we go, and I log in as test 3 at test.com, test 3. Cool. And now I go to chat. As you can see, oh, see, online users not shown for some reason. Offline users, we have test 2. So let's go ahead and fix this really quickly. So as you can see, our online user is not showing. So let's go ahead and debug that. So for online users, user.firstname. So why are we not seeing the console log search? Oh, that's not what we need to see. What we're trying to find is here. Math blah blah blah. Online users. Online user collapsed. Avatar. Okay, so I think I found the problem. So this online people is fine. I think here I just use user. Let's see now. User.id. Is it under? It should be underscore ID, correct? Let's see. So currently, we're not able to see the online user. So what I think the problem is yeah, here in online people, I don't think we set online people. So set online people. Yeah, so we have it, but we never set online people. And the best way to do that is to go to onMessage. I'm just going to copy this here. We're going to say set online people received message.data, and then we'll just save that. There we go. And we're all set. So that was the problem. We did not set online people. So now we see that there's a user online. And as far as the avatar, let's go down back to online people. And in the avatar, we have online is true. Username is blah, blah, blah. Username. Is it username? Yeah, username. User ID is user ID. On accounts. Okay, so this is strange. Let's see what we did down here. That first name. User ID is user._ID. Yeah, so there's no way this is user._ID. This should be user. Wait, what was that one? User._ID. So this should be, yeah, that was correct actually. User ID. All right. Let's see why that's not showing. I believe that's just a problem in the avatar component, so we'll fix that later when we go over the avatar component. But as far as now, when I click on test 3, as you can see, I get that test 1 that I sent at 2 p.m. and if I click on test 2, I still get that test 1 that's still there. So if I go over to my MongoDB and I refresh this, it should have that saved. There we go. Now I have this. So test 1, I have both saved. So if I go over to my Safari, now Safari has this test and it has test 2. So if I click on this, it's 2 p.m. and it's completely fine. So now if I log out and I close out of Safari, cool, and I come back here, as you can see, it automatically states that 2 users are offline. So, and no one's online anymore. Hold on, why is this indented? I don't like that. Offline users, where's that? It's online user. Do we have a pattern on it? Interesting. All right, whatever. I think it's because it's within this div and there's a pattern on it. Is there? Yeah, a P2 pattern on it. And in online users, there is no pattern. So we can add this P2 also. Yep, there we go. So now it looks better. So that's it for the chat. So that's everything we need. So if you come over here and we go into, and like I said, you can take this out in terms of the border. If you don't want this border there, you can take it out. I just did that because I wanted to. So now if we go to the network, no, where are we going? So just close out of that. If we go to mobile view and we go into our chat here, as you can see, it still looks pretty good. There's nothing really wrong with it. So before we go, we're done with the chat, and that's it for the chat. Before we go and before we get into Avatar, I want to quickly tweak some things within our nav.js. So as you can see, when we scroll, it's not going away. So when we scroll on this page, we still have this showing. Let's see for chat if that's easier to do. So we basically, when we scroll, I want this bar to go away. Yeah. So now if we close out of chat and we go over to our navbar, what we want to do is write some logic that's going to make this navbar disappear on scroll, so it looks a little better. And what we want to do is we're going to create this use state event. This use state the state variable. That's what I want to say. So it's going to be called scrolling and set scrolling, and it's going to signify basically us scrolling on the page. And the use state is going to be false. That's cool. And now we want to come right under this handle item click, and we're going to create a use effect. And this is going to state that we're going to say let previous scroll position, and this is going to be window.page y offset, and let, so here we're just declaring things, and let ticken be false. Let previous scroll position, like I said, this should be equal. There we go. And here we're going to say constant handle scroll is equal to, it's going to be an arrow function, const current scroll position, window.page y offset. So now if there's no ticken, so if we're not scrolling, window.request animation frame, if current scroll position is greater than the previous scroll position, so now we're just comparing the position of the positioning. Oh my god, what now? Did I spell it wrong? Yeah. And previous scroll. There we go.
Artlist.io.
Position, not post. There we go. So now we're just comparing the heights, technically. We want to set scroll to false. And this is when we're scrolling down. And here, we want to say else, scrolling, well, set scrolling to, actually this should be false and this should be true. Yeah. So when we're scrolling down, we want this to be true, and when we're scrolling up, we want this to be false. So in order to activate that, we now go right down here, and we're going to say previous scroll position is equal to current scroll position, and we want the ticken to equal true. So now we can write the event. We can write the event listener for it. So after we have this, actually this should be false first, and then ticken here should be true. Cool. And now down here we can write the window.add event listener, and this pertains to when we scroll. We want that handle scroll function to be active when we scroll. And then when we mount, we want to say window.remove event listener scroll, and this should be handle scroll. And yeah, so now for this class name, what we want to say is relative, but we're going to put this within this. So we're going to say relative scrolling. Let's put this in here. Cool. Okay, so if we're scrolling, then we want this hidden. If we're not scrolling, then we're good. And just like that, we're done. So let's see. Let's go into where can we find a... Okay, so we got to test this out. So the only way we can do that is by registering a new user. Let's go over to register, and let's say first name is test4, test4 at test.com, test4, submit that, okay, never, .com, backup, birth date. I think everything was within we're just gonna make it like 99, June, whatever. Gender, female, rating 35, Sunday, Saturday, Monday, 12 to 4, save profile. There we go. Okay, now as you can see, let's go back to the one we're familiar with. Let's go back to test at test.com, test. And as you can see, when we scroll now, that nav bar is gone, and when we scroll back up, it comes back on. So that to me was a cool feature that we could add. And now this UI to me looks incredibly ugly. So we can go ahead and just fix that up really quickly. And the way we do that, we just go to HeroPage. And what we're doing is we're going to be adding animations. We're going to be adding something called React Spring. We're going to import that library. So we can go in and to Google and just put React Spring npm. And when you come in here, just go to React Spring, and you're just going to grab this npm install React Spring. And when you do that, I already have mine downloaded. So when you do that, you can come back up here to this import stack. And what you want to do is import use Spring and set animate. Actually, not set animate, just animated. And we're getting it from React Spring. There we go. And that's all we're doing there. And now for our state functions, what we're going to do is say, so we're going to keep this is page loaded and set is page loaded. I don't know if you guys already have that, but it has to do with the animation. And we're going to say const animate and set animate. And this is going to be use state false. Cool. And that's pretty much all we're doing there. So now within this initialize WebSocket, what we're going to do is set a timeout just so it can have a smooth transition when we get into when the page loads. And here we're going to state set is page loaded to true, and we're going to have it 500. And that's that. And now we're going to set timeout again. And here we're going to say set animate to true. And this is going to be 800. And that's that. So now we can come down to, let's see. Yeah, we can come down here right before our return. And here we want to now write the logic that's going to be using use Spring. And use Spring, if you can go read the docs, but what it does is it's just it helps with animation. And here we're going to say opacity. I'm kind of speeding through this because I know this video is already longer than I want it to be. And I am determined to finish everything out today. So from, we're going to say opacity. 0. Okay, it should be that. And we're going to say reset, and we're going to make that equal to true. And we're going to say config. Since this isn't really a use Spring tutorial, I'm just going over the major parts, the part that's necessary to us. So we're going to say duration is 800. Yeah, reset true. There we go. So we're going to be adding this this prop variable to one of our functions down here, to our divs down here, and that's going to help. So here we're saying opacity when the animate is true, then we want it to animate. If not, we don't. The animation is going to go from opacity of 0. And so it's going from opacity of 0 to like 1. The reset is true, so it's going to reset every time. And configuration, we want it to last 800 milliseconds. So that's pretty much what we're doing. So we're going to do this a couple of times. So let's just do this 2 more times. Here it's going to be, let's take this out. So here it's going to be called title props. So we're adding it to specific divs here, and it's going to be the same thing. Here it's going to be sort by props, and it's the same thing again. So just like that. Now when we return, when we go to this return, we're going to take this out. So we're no longer going to have this background green or whatever. What we're going to have is flex column, and height screen. Background now is white. And we're going to state that if page is loaded, then we want page loaded. Else we want nothing. There we go. And here in the next one, we want a padding top of 20, but we're gonna do this. We're just gonna say items center flex. Oh no, we're not. So yeah, we're just gonna keep it this way actually. So what I meant to do was in the next one. So for this h1 class name, we're just gonna say animated.h1. So here we're just going to say animated.h1. Cool. And for this class name, we're going to say, yeah, we're going to leave it the same way. But now we want to add this style. We want to add this style to it. And this style is going to be that title props. So for the title, we want to add, there we go. See, we want to add that animation to it, and that's all we're doing there. Now for the, let's see, for this one, for sort by props, let's see. So we're gonna come to this div and come down 1, and here we're gonna say animated.div, and this animated.div is gonna have the style of sort by props. So we can take this animated div and let's find this here, and it's going to be right above select. So select is going to have 1 there, and it's going to be, there we go. So as you can see, that also added the animation to it. And for this one, the data.length, what we're going to state is, let's see. So here we're going to change this div to animated.div, and we're going to keep everything the same, except we're going to add this style that states, so this is going to be a bit different, and here we're just going to say props, and then we're going to add a z index and current profile. I'm going to explain in a second what we're doing. Z index, there we go, current profiles dot length, minus the index. So what we're doing here is we're trying to make sure the animation, when it loads up for our data, goes in order from top to bottom. And this is what the z index current profiles dot length -1 is doing. It's just going in order. So that's pretty much it. And now we can add this animate.div. So let's make sure. Where is this? Is it this one? Animate.div? No. Let's see. Where is, what's the next in H1? This div. Where is this div? Yeah, this should be animated.div. div. Okay, I was like, what's going on? As you can see, everything now looks a little better. So I think this is a way better UI than what we had before. Still not like premium quality, but it looks a lot better. So when we expand it, as you can see, we have it this way now, not just like super oblong. I think that's a lot better. So now we're gonna have one for, let's see, do we make one for pagination? So okay, so now we have the pagination down here, and this is also gonna have one of its own. Let's see if we created one for pagination over here. Let's see if I could just copy it. So waste less time. Gonna have pagination here. Yes, so it's the same thing. I'm just gonna copy it. So it's the same thing we have here. It's legit the same thing. What you can do is you can play around with the duration as much as you want. But for, you know what? Let me just copy it here. Yeah, so you can play around with the duration. For all of them, I put them at 800, but you can do whatever you want with it. Here for this animate, so we have this class name, and then this is going to be the animated.div, and we're going to change this also. So we have this div. So this is going to be animated.div. Oh, no, it's not. Sorry. So this one here is going to be animated.div. Cool. And what we're saying here, we're just going to add this style. And this style is going to be pagination. So if we minimize that and we come down, oh, well, you're not going to be able to see the pagination because we said it's not up to 9 profiles yet. When it is, then you'll see the pagination. But yeah, this is all we needed for the animation. And now let's quickly go over some minor points, so such as our login. So our login also looks, well, let's log out first. Our login looks very underwhelming. Doesn't look really nice. So we can also go ahead and add to it. So to begin, for our login, what we can do is we can come here to Pexels. So just come to pexels.com, and what I did was I just went to videos and I searched, I just searched like tennis court or something. So you can pick whichever one you want to pick. I already picked mine, but it's a free download, so you just go ahead and you don't have to like join or anything. You don't have to join or anything or sign up. All you can do is just click on a video and it'll ask you to download it. So you can just click tennis and it does the same thing. So I believed I used this one. Yeah, I used this one as mine. So you just go ahead and hit download. I already have it, so I don't have to do that. But we're going to make this our register and our login. Our register and our login background. So we're going to come here, and for login, well, we're going to create a component, and actually not a component. We're going to have a new file here. What am I saying? So we're going to come here and have a new folder, and this is just going to be called assets. And within our assets, we're going to have a new file, and we can call this like video1. Yeah, that MP4 is fine. Yeah, video1.mp4. So this actually, you know what? This is easier. Let's delete this video1.mp4. And what we want to do is we're going to find that video. So whenever you download a video, you're going to get the video. And let's go into our downloads. So let's see our downloads really quickly. So we're just gonna take this, and this is what it's gonna look like. So it's just the It's just that it's already been downloaded. So we're going to grab that. Let's move this over and we're just going to drag it into our assets. Cool. And we can close out downloads. So within this, now we can just rename it.
Music licensing
We're going to rename it video 1. I mean, you can always rename it something better, but I'm just going to rename it video 1. You don't have to open it. Now we can create a component called video background, or register login background.jsx. That's a better one. RAFCE. And here, let's just do this. We're going to be importing that video. So we're going to say import video from, so it's going to be /assets/video.
Music licensing reimagined.
So within this, we want to create a new folder and call it video, and then put this in there. Okay, let's delete that file. So here we're gonna have new folder, videos, and within this videos, let's drag that in there again. Downloads. And we're just gonna drag that into that. Cool. And close. And that's why. Close. Okay, so assets/videos/video. What do we name it? Video 1. Nope, we did not call it that. So let's rename that again. And we're going to call it video1.mp4. So videos/video1.mp4. We need that whole thing like that. So first step is done. Now all we're going to do is say video autoplay muted. We want it looped, and now we're going to have the class name of object cover. Width is full, height is 100 view height, and our source src is equal to video, and our type is going to be video/mp4.
Music licensing reimagined.
Cool. So now we have this register login background. So when we come into our login, we want to import that register login background from yeah. Cool. So now when we have that, we want to come into our if login user status is 200, set user blah blah. So right after this, we want to set a timeout, because we also want this to have some kind of like cool intro nav. Well, I'm gonna take this and just put navigate. So we want this to have like a slow entry, so it looks a little cooler. Okay, and this is gonna be 500. So that's all we're doing for that. And then for this class name, this is where the real work is. We're just gonna take all this out. We're gonna have this, and we're gonna state actually we don't really need that. We can just say relative. So relative width is full, min height of screen. Cool. And here's gonna say video what do we call it? Register login.
Music licensing
Cool.
reimagined.
Okay, so now we're going to create another div. And this div is going to say class name absolute, top is 0, left is 0, width is full. We want the height to also be full. We want the duration to be 500. So that means we're going to have a transition. So after transition, we're going to have flex items center, justify center.
Music licensing reimagined.
Let's see, transition. Opacity. There we go. And we want it to ease in, out. Cool. And we're going to use this. So where's this one?
Artlist.io.
I'm just going to have one more. So what is our, let's see, okay, so that's the problem. For some reason this is not importing. So let's take all this,
Licensing reimagined.
cut that out, don't save. We're just going to delete this component. That's probably why, because we probably started off with a lowercase register login background .jsx. So here,
Artlist.io.
and then we can import video from assets, videos, video one .mp4. Cool.
Artlist.io.
So now if we go here and import register login background from
Music licensing reimagined.
okay, so now this would now be register login. Whoa, what's the problem now? So if we go to the register login background, oh, there we go. That took way longer than it should. So now,
Artlist.io.
there we go. That took a little longer than it should have. Cool. All right. So what's the problem now? So it says relative with full min height screen. We have the background. We have absolute top 0. There we go. So this is what it looks like now. Why is it not looping? Let's see. Let's go back to our register, blah, blah, blah.
Artlist.io.
Okay, so the problem was simply, rather than say autoplay, we wrote autoplay wrong. So it should say auto, and it should be camel case. So autoplay. And then we also want to make sure this says plays in line for mobile screens. And that's pretty much it. So when we do that, we have our CSS and everything set up this way. So now we can go to register and do the same thing. So since we already saw how we did it in the first one, register should be a breeze. We're not going to do anything to this. We're just going to come down here and we're gonna add what's it called? Let's see, min height. Yeah, so we're just gonna take this out. So let's go over to register. Cool. And let's just take this out. And it's gonna be the same thing. We're just gonna say relative width is full, min height screen. Down here we say video, not video background. We say, what do we call it over there? We call it, let's just go into login. Let's grab this. We call it background. Grab that. And yeah, so here we're just gonna say background. Cool. And we're gonna have a div here. Class name absolute. Top 0, left 0, width is full, height is full, flex items center, justify center.
Artlist.io.
And here the background is going to be transparent. So now we can come down here. I'm just going to bring this. Actually,
Music licensing reimagined.
there we go. And there we go. So now our register page and our login looks like really good. Well, better than it was before. So that's pretty much it. So now for the part I told you guys we're going to work on. So this avatar portion. Let's go ahead and just sign out. Well, we're already signed out. So let's just close up this, close that up. And I'm just going to run through what we did for this avatar portion. And that's it for the project. Now we can go into the avatar portion of our the avatar component. And I didn't feel like rewriting this just because it's a lot, but I'm just gonna run it. I'm just gonna run it over with you guys. So here it's the regular import that we're doing, but within this const avatar, we're gonna be passing in these props. So we're getting these props. We're taking in these 4 props. So these 4 props here are coming from when we go back to chat, and we open this up. So let's see, when we go to avatar, as you can see, this avatar, it says online username. That's probably why this wasn't working, because this should have been username, not camel case. There we go. So it's taken in online username, user ID, and unread counts. So that's what it's passing. Sorry. So it's passing these props to the through the avatar component, and within the avatar component, we're taking these 4 props, and then we're going to be working with it. So underneath here, we have something called const colors. Let's make this bigger since this is the only thing we're working on. So we're going to have these color array of colors basically, and they're just random array. They're just random colors. So you can pick whatever colors you want. I just went with these colors because you can pick whatever colors you want, and I just picked a bunch of different colors. And what we're saying is now what we're doing is declaring these variables. And here we're saying const user ID base 10 is equal to parse integer user ID comma 16. So what parse integer is doing is it's taking a string and converting it into an integer. And the 16 means we're recognizing it as a hexadecimal. So we want to get it in base 10. So that's what we're saving it. We're saving it with this variable called user ID base 10. Now for const color index, here we're taking that user ID base 10, and we're going to be calculating a color index based on the remainder of dividing by the number of colors. So that's all color index is doing. Now for the profile color, we're now taking the color class from the color index, and we're assigning it to the profile color. So we're taking color index here and we're assigning it as profile color. So for this avatar content, we're looking to see if we have the username, and if we have the username and the user length is greater than 0, then what we're doing is we're taking the first character of that username and we're setting it to an empty string if that username is not provided. So we're taking the first character of the username, and if we don't have this username and the username.length is not greater than 0, then we just leave it as an empty string. And then down here, this is just the class name to position these backgrounds and everything. So if the user is online and if the user is online and the status is not undefined, then we want to build out this div. And here we're saying if the user is online, then we want to give it a background of green. If not, then we want to give it a background of red. So that's why when you see the users online in the chat function, it has that little green, and if the user's offline, it shows that little red bar. So for this div here, what we're doing is we're creating this class name, and we're adding the profile color to it, and we have this profile color within this div, and then we have this class name where we capitalize the letter and as you remember, the avatar content is the first character within the username. So if your name is test, then it's grabbing test and putting it in within this h1 header, within this header, and that's all this is doing. It's capitalizing it. The opacity is 60, and it's using the same profile color. On red count, so it's telling you how many people, it's telling you how many unread messages you have, and that's all this is doing. It's just positioning the number. So this is where the number goes. So this is the class name for it. So now if we go back to this, so now if we so now if we go to chat, as you can see, all these have the red, which shows they're offline. So that's pretty much all that's doing. For the online users, I'm pretty sure all our problem was for username, we had it as camel case here rather than just regular username, and that's what the problem was. So we should be good by now. Let's go quickly back to login and register. I want to take away these borders because we no longer need them. So let's take away this. Let's do this first. Okay, and let's sign out and log in. Okay, that's not it. Let's see. Input. Is this login? Yeah, where's the email input? That's password. So for password, let's see if we can give it a, for show password, let's see if we can give it
Artlist.io.
a margin top of 2. Okay, so
Music licensing reimagined.
so let's give this, there we go. Let's give it 2. That's fine. All right. So that way this has some cushion to it. And then for the password, we want to take this border out. There should actually be no borders here right now.
Artlist.io.
And let's take, there we go. So we don't want any borders. We just wanted to sit that way. And actually, let's make this pattern top about, say, 4.
Music licensing
Cool.
reimagined.
So that looks a little better. And then for register, yeah, that's a lot of borders. So we're just gonna come down here to register, and we're gonna get rid of these borders. So let's take this out. Cool. I'm gonna take this out. Take this out. Cool. Now we can see. That's fine. Let's see. Do we have any?
Music licensing reimagined.
Okay. So where's our div here? Cool. Yeah, that's fine. Since we don't have any borders, it's okay to just leave it like that. So this is pretty much our code. We're done. This is everything we needed for this project. So to run through it, we sign in. We get whichever profile is compatible with ours. We have our profile section here, where we can also just change this to white. So profile, we can just change this to a white background. Let's see. So it doesn't just look green. So we just have this white background, and what we can do is we can say this background is transparent.
Music licensing
and it looks looks plain, but it looks a little better. So if you want, you can go ahead and put a video background to it or an image background, but it does what it's supposed to do. Trending, we don't have anything in for trending because that would be, we've pretty much worked on that before. For trending, all we're doing is taking a news API and putting it in there. And I've created a news API tutorial before in terms of like building a news website out of a news API. So I didn't see the need to reteach it and take more time. Now, if you want me to add it to it, just let me know in the comment section and I'll open up another video. I'll create another video and create that. But for the most part, we have our front end and we have our back end and we're all good. So I want to say thank you to you guys for supporting this project, because it's kind of a unique project in the sense that I thought about it and I just said, hey, let me build this. I didn't see someone else build it and say, oh, I can recreate this. It was kind of a spur of the moment. Hey, this is a cool project. Let's see how this would work. And you guys have been receptive to it. So let me know if you guys want anything added to this project. Like I said before, I will still work on it as a personal project. I believe I can build it into something more, but that doesn't mean I'm going to make more videos on it without like people asking me to tweak certain things or add certain things. And even then, it's like, if it seems beneficial, then I'll do it. Meaning if enough people ask, then I'll do it. But for the most part, I want to say thanks. Hopefully you guys learned a lot about WebSockets and whatnot in this tutorial. I think it was part 6, so six different videos. But it was a blast building this with you guys. So let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys on whichever video I decide to build next. Peace.